The Buy Nothing Rebellion has started. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. It's pretty random sounding. I'll just sum it up for you. Basically, people are done buying low-quality, useless crap, and they're starting to become self-aware, asking themselves questions like, am I just buying this useless junk to soothe myself when I'm stressed out, or do we really have to buy all this stuff on Christmas just because social convention dictates that we do so? Or how long can I go without washing my underwear with soap? So are people really starting to see through the illusion now? Like shrinkflation and gym memberships that are impossible to cancel? We're becoming conscious now, right? We all care about plastic islands in the ocean now and sea turtles choking and making good food choices. We're absolutely no longer headed for the 6th mass extinction on Earth. Everything's completely fine. Call me a contrarian if you want to. By the way, I'm absolutely opposed to that statement. But I think this Buy Nothing Rebellion is really just an empty trend that YouTube pushed on me in the algorithm last week. It did inspire me to make a video about consumerism nonetheless. The perceived problem is rooted in something much deeper than that. And of course, I'm a hero and I have a corresponding solution to said problem, which I'm going to share with you. But first, I will emphasize why a Buy Nothing Rebellion and movements like it are they'll just never be enough. Just like I'll never be enough for you, Christina. Over the years, I've watched consumer culture evolve. For example, when I was a kid, on the weekends I used to beg my parents to rent a Super Nintendo. But now I watch kids scam their parents out of credit cards so they can buy V-Bucks and random mobile apps. I've also watched things like software bloat unfold, like that helpful Microsoft paperclip. Now we have helpful spyware that takes up 64 gigabytes of RAM. I could go on about NFTs, crypto, sports betting, and AI-generated slop, but as you can see, we've opened up a whole other dimension of crap to buy. We say buy nothing, but we really are literally buying nothing. Cheap, infinitely reproducible nothing. Virtual nothing. And actually, the things we don't buy are even worse, like social media. We now pay with our attention, time, and data instead of money. We're feeding algorithms. By the way, feed this algorithm, like and subscribe, be a good little hypocrite. Thank you. Speaking of social media, you have influencers on here, and they're debt-free with 3 vehicles and a sailboat, and they're living in some walkable city, living it up in California with other yuppies that they can barter with and live this buy nothing. Buy nothing, it's the rebellion, you've got this. But a rebellion requires time, energy, and mental space. And counterintuitively, it requires money. If you're poor and burnt out, and you're sick or just trying to survive, you're just trying to scrape by, you don't have time to research which companies are poisoning children with cadmium, or you don't have time to haggle on Facebook Marketplace with some guy named Daryl that thinks he's on Pawn Stars. You buy what's available and cheap, and sometimes you buy what numbs your stress or whatever because you live a stressful life. So financial strain is a constraint, and it doesn't just depend on that either. You can be financially fine, and there are other constraints. Back in my day, my family was just a middle-class family in rural Canada. We could just pop over to the local corner store and get the things we needed. Things were available enough. But all these local stores and the chain stores, they're all gone now. And we're all corralled into going to these large superstores, or even forced into ordering online. That's all some people can do. Maybe you can grow your own food and get by in some wholesome way. Maybe you have a nice markets and bartering community and storage, and you've got a full-on hippie commune going. But even still, you realize, oh, I live in Canada. This isn't feasible 100% of the time, and you have to rely on the global transport system to get your food somehow. And even then, living in Canada, the best way to quell a rebellion is just seasonal depression. But this is all starting to look like a trap, isn't it? And it couldn't possibly be that it's by design, could it? It could just be a coincidence, but if it were by design, though, what's a great way to keep people from rebelling? Well, hold something valuable hostage. Babies. It starts when we're young. I've seen plenty of parents starting out strong with great intentions with their cloth diapers and their borrowed wooden blocks, but they cave really soon after that. And it's not their fault, because the system's robbing them of the privilege of time and resources, and it's providing cheap and available solutions. like disposable diapers and bottles and digital babysitters. And it's just generating crap in all dimensions, generating garbage. Although I do have some great ideas, like why not just let your baby poop on the floor and scoop it up? But even after babyhood, this all continues. You have school supplies and clothes and technology. And if you opt out of any of that, your kid's going to be a social outcast, and unless you live in a community of like-minded kids and parents. Anyhow, you could be the best parent in the world, but until your kid's done with their last $500 car seat at the age of 20, you're not going to be able to opt out of the system. And it's not just children who are being held hostage. For those of us who are single and childless, I'm single and childless, by the way, we have art. We have music, film, sports, and my favorite technology like bicycles, right? We have things that create meaning for us, even if they're inefficient or bought in questionable ways or wasteful and made of plastics. We have all of these beautiful things, and we built a whole system around it, and we can't just throw it all away in the name of a system. Like, we can't just stop being artists because our paint is acrylic and plastic is going to put there has to be some transition here. It would be very nice if we could go to the local paint maker and have them make paint out of lead or whatever they used to make it out of. Everything's just so intertwined, so we just can't cut it off like that. We can't just suddenly stop buying. I could keep going on about health and education and human connection and all these sorts of things, but I think you get the picture. But now I'm going to start converging on a possible solution to all of this. So we're in a system. We have to escape the system. How do we escape the system? Well, we have to get to the core of the problem. And the core of the problem is not buying things. Changing that behavior only works for specific people in specific locations. The core of the problem gets right down to values. The system relies on distorting our values, because it's all fake and it's like the Matrix or something. So the idea is to make yourself immune to the system and become part of something real. So one example is going outside in nature for hours, connecting with the natural world. What that does for us, it makes us care about nature in a more than abstract way. We're not just watching a nature documentary, we're enjoying nature and connecting with it ourselves. When you connect with nature, some choices that the system is forcing you into making, or it feels like it's forcing you, well, you just can't stomach it anymore, so you're forced to find an alternative way to do that. So another thing I would argue makes our values more real is when we start getting creative, becoming creative people, like making art. Go out there and make a garden or get back into your drawing hobby or something. So when you're a creative person, you learn to recognize quality. So anything you would be consuming otherwise, be it media to food or whatever, you're going to have a better grasp of what's quality and what's not. You'll still be consuming things, but you'll be consuming intentionally to support your creativity. And then it doesn't become mindless consumption, mindless novelty. So what creativity leads to, in combination with an appreciation for nature, it leads to something that is in complete opposition to the system that exists, while being able to live in it and gradually make a change. You'll see what can't change, and you can't be perfect, and some things will make you sad, but things can change over time. But from all of this, a buy-nothing sort of mindset emerges on its own, based on the values. A rebellion without values is probably destined to collapse or become extreme or something, or evolve into something soulless and empty, like a sustainable-looking dystopia branded with corporate Memphis art. So we're being real here. We're doing a real rebellion, whatever we would call that. So how do we spread this message to everyone? I've got no idea. But like and subscribe if you agree with it, and maybe that'll help. Lead by example, that might help too. Like, lead by example in front of the children. Children, they don't know any better. We can't just lecture them and tell them their mobile game is scamming them, or that their Crocs and texting is going to cause spine alignment problems. And do you think the kids of today really want to hear me stand here and lecture about all this stuff just before Christmas? Santa Claus is coming. Or should I say Satan Claus, coming to flood their brains full of dopamine and train them into being future mindless consumers. They're manic. It's not real joy. You know what brings me real joy? Is a wholesome Christmas. Getting back to the roots. Seeing kids on Christmas morning brings me so much joy when their faces are full of disappointment. No PlayStation for you, Caden. Could I actually go up to an Apple user now and mention the word planned obsolescence without getting a dirty look like I just insulted their grandmother? Maybe.